When Avenged Sevenfold dropped The Stage a couple of weeks ago, the single, well, they said that they were going to take a lot more risks with this upcoming album. Here's a risk for you. It's here. It's out. You can go out, you can buy it, you can consume it. We're reviewing it because it's here. Yeah, on that video, the information was stating December. It stated that the album was going to be called Voltaic Oceans. It's called The Stage. It's out right now. We're talking about it right now because that's a risk. And I think it's a risk that's going to really pay off. The Stage is setting up as a follow-up to Hail to the King. And the real question is that Hail to the King was kind of like a Black Album style for this band. It was a little bit simpler. Not as many risks were taken. Did they make load? Did they make load? Or the load-reload cycle? Because this is a long album. This is 74 minutes. This is the longest Avenged Sevenfold album to date. It actually does supersede City of Evil in that department by nearly a minute. So there's another risk. So there's two risks, and we're not even like a minute through this video. Maybe a little bit more. So now The Stage is, and I'm talking about the song this time. That's really confusing. It's the first track off of this album. Is that a risk? Not really, because for 8 minutes and 32 seconds, you almost want that to be the opener. You know, the only way that would have possibly not been an opener or a closer would have been if there was something longer on the horizon. Well, The Stage is the second longest song on this album. We'll get to the longest. This is a track that sets up sort of the like AI type idea that they're going for as far as themology on this album. Although this is one that's being handled a little bit more by the good and bad that technology has proven for the world in the future perspective, as opposed to going with, you know, robots and science fiction, and basically they're not trying to make the astonishing here. They're not Dream Theater, but we'll get to that too. Believe me. The theatrical element of Avenged Sevenfold is very, you know, prominent here with The Stage, and it's a very good opener. Many people harken it back to City of Evil, meeting with the minds with Nightmare. I agree with that, but I also think that this should be known more so as the Stage era Avenged Sevenfold, because this sort of high theatric with the style of songwriting is not something that goes away. Paradigm is really kind of weak by comparison to The Stage. It's got a little bit more aggression laced behind it. It's a quicker track. It's only half of the length of The Stage. But something about this just doesn't feel quite as strong. This almost feels like it could have been a little bit more toward the center of the album and just used as one of those tracks that you put two awesome tracks, you know, between in order to boost it up a little bit. And they kind of did that here because Sunny Disposition is definitely no slouch. At 6 minutes and 41 seconds, this is one that's showcasing another one of the themes of this album. You know, risk being one of them, the second one being unpredictability. And that's the one thing that Avenged Sevenfold really, really needed after Hail to the King felt entirely too predictable and entirely too simple until you got to the latter elements of that disc. Whenever, you know, you get to a track such as Planets, which I brag and I just boast up like it's the greatest track in their discography, but it's not. It's just that on that disc, that song looks like $1 million by comparison to a lot of the other stuff that Hail to the King really gave, as far as being really kind of creative and taking some risks and feeling bold. You know, this whole album, The Stage, feels bold and ambitious, whereas Hail to the King largely did not feel that. And Sunny Disposition might have something that makes people look at me like I'm nuts. There's some black metal riffs in here. There's also some keys in here, you know, some synths. They offer a little bit of brass. Maybe they used actual brass. It's hard to tell these days. Everything is very well calculated and very well synced up. But either way, the 6 minute and 41 second track also descends into a little bit of thrash, a little bit of just thrash your neck until you drop for some moments. It's kind of crazy how much they were able to pack in to one song, and this is not the end of that. Goddamn is another song that feels a little weak, but it again has a lot of aggression that's sort of, you know, given within it and delivered at 3 minutes and 41 seconds, going into Creating God. And oh, you want to talk about an early session highlight for me. Creating God is that song. Now, we just talked about Brotherhood of the Snake by Testament yesterday, and we talked about how one of the songs on that album reminded a lot of us, really, of Lemmy Kilmister and Motorhead, a nice little tribute. This one feels like it's got a tribute that's within it as well, and the man I'm thinking of is Scott Weiland. Listen to the vocal delivery. Listen to the way that it's, you know, the song is even structured overall. I hear Stone Temple Pilots. I hear Velvet Revolver. So you might have heard somebody different. Tell me who you heard. in the comments below, but damned if it's not a really nice and just an overall great track. What is being set up here over these first 5 albums are a couple of things. First of all, you don't know what's coming next. Second of all, Brooks Wackerman was a great choice for drummer because the man is very capable. Wow. Thirdly, you're getting guitar solos out the ass. And fourthly, it seems like Avenged Sevenfold has shifted away some philosophies and replaced it with others. And fifthly, it feels like Mike Portnoy's time in the band really was kind of not so much a trial by fire, but a real learning experience. Am I giving him all the credit for this? Hell no! But I'm saying that maybe, just maybe, the way in which they collectively shared ideas as a band during those sessions, during those moments, or maybe, just talking, not even giving a shit about writing their own material, really led to some real revelations as to how the sound could go. Maybe an album such as Nightmare is really more inspirational to their writing than a lot of people let on. Angels, though, follows up, and this is a track that you would think would be that soft moment, that trademark Avenged Sevenfold ballad, I suppose, but instead this is a slow crawl that really has a little bit more of a blues alternative signature to it. I could just as easily hear Joe Bonamassa perform this with, Lane Staley if he was alive, and it would, really work out just as well. Either that or maybe even Chris Cornell. It's got this nice overall register to it, and notice how much we are sort of talking up the composition. Notice how much we're really kind of looking at the structure of these songs and how they are not all linear, and we're just sort of, being very praiseworthy toward it, and that's because it is nice. It is something that's different. It's something that delivers sort of this element that Avenged Sevenfold have always had within themselves and within their writing, but feels like it's been slightly absent because of the last thing that we got, the last taste in our mouth. But Angels is really more straightforward. It's, like I said, more like a blues alternative or blues rock track, and it's a nice risk. Yeah, that's a risk. And they took it, and it was great. Simulation and Higher both sort of start to reiterate what the second half of this disc kind of speaks. That unpredictable nature that you had with the first 5, it's even more unpredictable now. You don't know what the hell's going on. You really do not. We're getting all sorts of random assortments. We have, Thrash Till You Drop. We have solos that are really somewhere in between Marty Friedman and Dave Mustaine, Rust in Peace era. We have some allusions to Metallica. A track such as Roman Sky that dives into some orchestration, which definitely feeds into that theatrical element that Avenged Sevenfold's always really had. Fermi Paradox goes back into black metal, and the Metallica / Megadeth riffing and the thrash structure is being offset by, those softer vocals, those things that you hear that really give, that give Avenged Sevenfold their trademark, Higher, for example, right there at the end, they're repeating one of the iconic lines from that song, and you can tell that this is going to be the one that the fangirls gaga over, and M Shadows will all of a sudden have a little face on a meme, and there's all the lines, and there's going to be hearts everywhere, and you're noticing a lot of allusions to heaven, a lot of references to heaven, the stars, the celestial world, and I purposely stopped short because then we get to Exist. Exist is the longest track on this album. It's 15 minutes, 41 seconds. It's the longest song in Avenged Sevenfold history. And this is the biggest risk of them all. This is the biggest risk of them all. If you don't believe me, you're about to. This song, you might expect it to be a progressive suite. And it is to a certain extent. More classical than progressive, but either way. You might think that this is going to be a track that has just a ton of vocals everywhere, that it's just going to be this massive cacophony at some points. It's not. This song I would best describe as a suite in 3 parts. The first 7 minutes is the actual suite. It is literally instrumental. We have a ton of riffing. We have a ton of shredding. We have a little bit of setup, a little bit of atmosphere. First 7 minutes, it's like Yngwie Malmsteen joined Avenged Sevenfold. I will give that honor to Sinister Gates. I will give him that honor. I will do that because this is well concocted, this is well delivered, this felt organized, but it still felt spontaneous. Then we get to the 3-minute passage where there is vocals. I mean, there are some vocals for the latter portion of the song of a different variety. This is softer. This kind of kills the mood a little bit. But, doing a little bit of investigation, the song is supposed to represent the Big Bang. And the vocals are supposed to represent when the Earth is finally formed. And that makes, that context, that simple context right there, makes it make a lot more sense. Do I still really enjoy that portion? I enjoyed it a little bit more than I did whenever I was going in blind, but I still feel that this was sort of delivered with a real purpose in mind. So, I'm giving it a pass. The last 5 minutes, that's the most peculiar part of the song. But it's also one of the cooler ones. They got Neil deGrasse Tyson to come in and deliver a speech that was specially written for this very album. And then you hear Avenged sort of reminiscing some of the themes of both of the first parts of the suite, while adding on some more layers to it. To finish off this album, the last 5 minutes and 41 seconds are largely instrumental alongside the words of Neil deGrasse Tyson. So there's not a lot of vocals here, there's not a lot of lyrics here for a 16-minute track. I don't know how that's going to go. I know that the first 7 minutes are just going to cause, orgasms everywhere. That's going to just be orgasms everywhere. There might be some immaculate conceptions based off of this. The orgasms might travel so far, they may enter into other fans or just other people, and bam, baby. Big bang, literally. There might be some big banging happen in this song. I don't know. But overall, not too bad. I was thinking after the first 7 minutes it might be better than some of the stuff on Nightmare. But in the end, it feels like it falls a little short. Just a little short. Just a little short. It's epic in scope, has a tremendous theme, but just a little bit short. Whoa, okay. So did you expect this from Avenged Sevenfold? Did you? All the fans are going to be like, yeah, of course, this is, duh. This is what they're capable of. No, you didn't. Nobody expected this. Nobody expected this much risk-taking on the stage. And I'll tell you what I didn't expect after Hail to the King. I didn't expect it to be as enjoyable as it was. This was a very fun ride. It was unpredictable, so there was tension within, even after the first playthrough, because there's so much packed in here that you can't remember all of it. So you start to get memories as the first opening notes play, but wow. 89 out of 100. This is a really good album. This is very, very strong. This is on par with, I guess it's the exact same score as Brotherhood of the Snake by Testament. It's been a great week for metal already from just these two albums, period. What a difference. I'm very, very pleased. I want to know what you guys think about this, though. Let me know what you think about the stage by Avenged Sevenfold in the comments below. I expect many people to say this is the album of the year. Tell me why. My name is coverkillernation, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care. Hey guys, thanks for viewing this album review. If you want to know more about Avenged Sevenfold via the discography review, definitely click on that link right down there. If you want to know why 5 reasons why people hate Avenged Sevenfold, why would they do that? Check out the video to your right. You can subscribe to my channel and also scope out my Patreon. Thanks again for viewing, and I hope you have a great night. Take care.